The decision was obviously a really major one. I mean, everything was very, very comfortable to some extent. I mean, financially, etc. And to actually go, okay, this is it, was tough. And but since then, it's been really easy. In fact, I've enjoyed it more because a lot of the old drives have come back in again. I mean, it's great getting the second chance when you're 31 years old. And everybody was wanting to make their own statements within the songs, and you know, which, you know, nothing wrong with it, but when it starts to become detrimental to the overall song or the overall album, then you know, you got to start taking side steps. And you know, I had to break away. I mean, I think every singer in every band, I mean, you know, there'll be a lot of singers that watching this interview going, I recognise that, that's happening to me at the moment. I mean, you know, it gets so Machiavellian when you're working inside a band. I mean, keeping egos and all sorts of things in place. And, you know, you have to, let's just say that throughout the 7 years with the band, I mean, every year the feeling gets a bit stronger. You know, like, you know, maybe, you know, I could like do a solo album, and you start meeting other musicians. That's what happened to me. I mean, it's like in the last 2 years I met loads of musicians, and the thing was going wrong, and I'm sort of thinking, you know, I would like to do something outside. And, you know, when you start putting your main ideas into the band and the band was rejecting them, you know that you've got to leave. You know when the percentage of ideas that you've got, the vast percentage is outside the band's parameters, then you've got to leave. And that's what happened. Problems writing the album, which was supposed to be, you know, the next one after Clutching at Straws. And I think on Clutching we'd reached a fork in the road, and I decided to go for a distinctly more straightforward lyrical approach and a more melodic approach, which the band weren't really into. So when we split, I mean, it was frightening actually, with this huge blank sheet of paper that was, you can do anything you want. And there was all these influences that you tried to sort of like push into the Marillion way of thinking, things like Little Feat and Joni Mitchell and Ricky Lee Jones, that you know, they could never surface from the Marillion way of thinking. But I mean, all of a sudden it was, I could do it. And it was great being able to pad about in different areas.
I don't trust the government. I don't trust
the Daily Telegraph and stuff, you know. I mean, I read the little blocks at the bottom, you know. So you find a lot of information in there. And I've, as I said, I'm a very acute observer, and I do take a lot of interest in the world about me, and I find it really scary. I mean, I'm getting to the stage where, you know, my wife and I are, you know, talking about kids and stuff. And I'm like looking at the sort of world that my kids are going to grow up in. And I find it frightening that subjects that, as I say, you and I are probably about the same age, that we discussed at school, they were science fiction, things like the ozone layer. I mean, that was a coffee table discussion that was science fiction, and like, you know, I mean, that was in the same breath as, you know, if somebody, what would you do if you confronted an alien? I mean, that is now a very, very harsh reality. And, I mean, my entire album, I mean, the Vigil in a Wilderness of Mirrors, I mean, it's the Wilderness of Mirrors. I mean, to explain just roughly the title, it was a guy called James D. Angleton that worked for the CIA. He was head of counterintelligence, I think, in the late 50s, early 60s. And there was a time when there was a lot of Russian defectors going across the States. And they were going and saying, I tell you, comrade, this man here is not working for you, he's actually a Russian spy. And the Russians were getting worried because everything was getting blown, their entire American operation was getting blown. So what they did was they sent a load of genuine guys across, you know, genuine spies that were going, he's telling a lie, it's not him, and then somebody contradicted him. And Angleton said at that time they didn't know who was telling the truth, who was friends, who was enemies. And I think it's just like that now. I don't know who to trust anymore. And I said in the State of Mind thing, well, I don't trust the government and I don't trust alternatives. You know, and it's not that I'm paranoid, it is just the way that it is now.